Good morning, or should I say good afternoon, everybody. Hi, and welcome to day 3 of the Summer Challenge. My name is Catherine Erdley, and I am the founder of Future Retail Consulting and the Female Founders in Retail Facebook group. It's wonderful to have you with me for the hump day, day 3. So welcome to Wednesday. And so what we're going to do today is then just to recap, day 1, we talked about your particular customer and what it is that they are going to be doing right now in the summertime. So you kind of went a little bit deeper into that customer avatar and had to think about their particular journey in the summer and any new pain points that they might have, particularly ones that your products can address. The second thing that we did was I talked you through a whole list of promotions of varying different types. And I talked a little bit about the pros and cons of each one, and you had the opportunity to sit down and work through some ideas for your own business about what kind of different promotions you could run from this selection of different types. Okay, so what is day 3? Well, day 3, quite simply, is we're going to ask ourselves 6 questions to decide which promotion that you are going to use. Now, I don't want you to overthink this too much, because what we're trying to do here is you're still learning about your business. You're still learning about what works and doesn't work. So we're going to walk through how you might logically decide what to do, but then you're going to be the one who is going to use your gut and your knowledge of your business to pick one. And as I said, don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be the perfect one. You're going to try it, you're going to run it, and then you're going to learn from it. And that's the purpose, really. Remember, we treat everything in our business as feedback. We don't take it personally. We just look at, okay, what is this telling us? What worked? What didn't work? What's the feedback that we get from our customers? So let's move on then. Oh yes, at the end, before I forget, I will tell you a little bit more about a special offer that I am going to be going into more detail on Friday, but I'll just mention it briefly at the end. Right, let's get to work. So the first question that you have to ask yourself is, quite simply, what am I trying to achieve? Take a step back and think about, do you want to, for example, is the most important thing to you right now is that you get some extra cash into the business? Okay, so that is a very valid concern. You just, maybe you haven't been hitting your sales plans, or you just want to see a bit more of an upturn. Okay, so that is option number 1. You may say to yourself, okay, so I know that it's a bit of a quiet time, but what I really want to do is get a few more email addresses, and I just want to get more connection with my customer. Okay, so that is also another, it's a perfectly valid reason for you to pick a certain promotion over another one. So you just have to ask yourself, what is the aim of this promotion? Because as we talked about yesterday, there's a whole range of promotions. So you can run from the ones which are giveaways, competitions, which are very much relationship building, reaching out to the customer engagement, but not necessarily sales driving, all the way up to the blanket sales promotion, 20% off everything, 30% off everything. So think about that. That's the first thing that you should really be clear on. What are you actually trying to achieve here? If you want to achieve more than one thing, I would suggest that you think about running more than one promotion, but you would space them out. So it may be that 1 week or first week of the month you run a competition, and the end of the month you run the discount. But if you think that you've got multiple things that you're trying to achieve, definitely don't try and do them all with the same promotion. That would be my biggest tip to you. Okay, so the second question you have to ask yourself is, are there any practical restrictions? So this is a very boring, dull, practical question, but some people, for example, can't use multi-buys in their particular checkout, either for their EPOS system or for their website provider. So you just simply don't have the capability to do some of these promotions. So when we go through the list, especially when you're talking about things like the bounce back vouchers or things like your stepped promotions, just have a little think about if there are any purely practical restrictions, which mean that actually, do you know what, running a bounce back promotion could get really complicated. Or you may simply just say, do you know what, 3 for 2 is simply not going to go through my till. And believe me, there are plenty of very big retailers, you'd be surprised, who struggle with some types of offers, multi-buys in particular. Okay, so question number 3 is, what have you tried in the past that actually worked quite well? Now, this is probably more applicable if you've been running your business for a bit longer, but if you've tried any of these types of things in the past, you'll have a bit of a sense of, right, well, what are the sort of standout promotions? And again, every company that I've ever worked for, and the small companies that I've worked with too, they have an idea of there's something that really has captured customers' imagination, or they just know that a certain type of promotion works really well. So this is something for you to consider. You know, if you really don't have much background, if you haven't really done this much before, take a look at what your competitors are doing, and that will give you a general sense. Like if everybody's running, like for example, I know I keep saying back to school, but you know, I've got my paper chase experience fresh on my mind. Everybody runs 3 for 2 during back to school, or they run bundle deals. So if you were to be starting off and you're in stationery and you're really thinking about, okay, so what kind of promotions might work, just look at what your competitors are doing, and that will give you a good indication. And just as important is what has worked well in the past is what hasn't worked well in the past. So again, if you have tried something in the past and it was just a complete flop, then not to say that you should walk away from it entirely, but for example, if you know that your customer is more premium and they don't respond very well to these kind of discount messages, then that's something for you to consider. If you've tried competitions, I mean, it's still probably worth it another go, because sometimes just your timing isn't right, or your copy might not have been right, or your message wasn't 100%. So it's not to say that you shouldn't try it at all, but just when you're going through the list, if you kind of look at something and go, you know what, something like this we tried before and it was a total disaster, then I would suggest you don't go back and revisit it. Okay, so those are, you know, there's pretty, you know, common sense really, but I just wanted to spell it out there. Look at what's worked and look at what hasn't worked in the past for you. Okay, so number 5 is, are any of your ideas just not profitable? Now, this is a big topic. I could probably spend an hour just going through all of this all in itself, but I just want to flag up that it is always worth doing the sense check as to and this will depend on you understanding how much profit you're making per item, which I know I've talked about before, and also you just having a sense of if what you're doing is going to be profitable or not. So a great example, I worked for a company before where they did a giveaway and they gave away an item, and let's say the item was, you know, a £5 item. It cost us £5. So it was actually a really nice item to give away, because I think the retail value was probably about £30. And what we found was the additional profit we were generating from this promotion was less than £5 an order. So we were effectively making less money by doing this promotion than if we had just not run it at all. And now there are ways around that. It could be, the problem was we didn't have a minimum spend, so we weren't insisting that they spent up to a particular limit. We were just basically giving this item away. It, you know, wasn't terribly well thought out from that point of view. So you just want to make sure before you do any kind of promotion, you know, because for example, let's say you I keep going back to giveaways, but I'll use another example as well. But let's say you're running the yoga students, the yoga wear company, and you've realized that the customer's really hot in the summer, so you say, right, I'm going to do a giveaway where I'm going to give away a free water bottle with every purchase. So that's relevant, that speaks to the customer's pain point, and you know, it's a great feel-good giveaway. But what you want to make sure is, again, how much are you paying for those water bottles? So let's say you would get paying £3 for the water bottle. How do you make sure that you know, you're asking the customer to have a minimum spend, so that you want, if you know that your average order value is £45 and you start saying, right, everybody has to actually spend £60 in order to get this water bottle, then you know that your increase that you're asking for is going to be generate enough profit overall to pay for the water bottle. So it's just that kind of thought process. The same goes with the buy one get one free. I mean, that's actually a huge discount. You're giving away 50%, so are you still making any money after that? And then things like 20% off, 30% off, you really want to see a good uplift on those kind of offers in the units that you're selling to actually mean that you're making more profit overall. And just have a look through, you know, really go through your numbers and think about, okay, just just try it a couple of ways. Okay, so if I take 30% off this item, how much money am I actually going to be making at the end of it? And make sure that it's all worthwhile. So that is a big one for you to look at. And again, you would be surprised the number of big companies even that kind of go into this, oh, I think this would be a really great offer, and they do it, and then you run the numbers and you say, actually, that's just not profit positive. So obviously, yes, we want to grow sales, but you know, also want to grow our profit. Okay, so then the final question is, are there any particular offers that we've really touched on this before, but are really good for this time of year? So 3 for 2 back to school, you're talking directly to a need to buy multiple items, 20% off travel essentials for this time of year is always a good one. So if you know people are going to be traveling and you've got a particular product area that speaks to traveling, then you could do a discount off that. So again, it's just going back, and as you go through your list, now they should all be targeted with your customer in mind, because we've done that exercise already. But are there any that just to you kind of go, you know what, logically speaking, this is the strongest one? Okay, so those are the 6 questions. What's your aim? Do you have any practical restrictions? What's worked in the past? What hasn't worked in the past? Are you going to actually be making money on this offer? And are there any of your offers that actually you just think, do you know what, that is absolutely on point and works really well for this particular time of year? Because as I said, we're focusing at the moment on the summer sales, but this process you can use at any time of the year for coming up with your sort of promotional calendar. So those are your 6 questions. Have a look, and then you know, today's task is going to be a super quick one. You're going to go back through the list of suggestions that you came up with yesterday, and then you're going to select today you're going to select the one that you're going to go forward with. Okay, so as I said, don't overthink it. This is not make or break. You just have to make sure that you've made a logical decision. You may have so many great ideas that you decide to run more than one, but staggering them. The other thing I should just say as well is you might want to keep in mind, have you recently done any of these promotions as well? Because if you've just done a competition, maybe you don't want to do a competition again, you want to try something new. Maybe you've just done a discount, and it's definitely, if you've been giving away money, percentage off or cash off, really be careful about running those discounts too close together, because it trains the customer to wait for a discount. So bear those in mind, have a look at your list and make your decision. Please do come into the group later. It would be really great to hear from you and figure out which one of your promotions you've actually decided to go ahead with. I'd love to hear that. So I told you a little, I promised I'd tell you a little bit more about the offer. So on Friday, I'm going to be telling you about a special opportunity that I am promoting to have my undivided attention. So one-to-one session where I'll be able to help you plan your strategy for the business and create your roadmap for going forward. So I'll tell you more about that later. Until then, I will see you tomorrow. I'll be back at 10:30 tomorrow, just a little bit later today because I had to be out in the morning. But I will see you at 10:30 tomorrow, and we will talk a little bit about how you actually plan out what you're trying to achieve from your promotion. Thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye-bye.